Happy Sunday morning. I recently was praying for a young girl, and as I was talking with her, I was reminding her that God is so sovereign over our circumstances, and even in the middle of our circumstances, we need to keep our eyes on Him and keep looking above the circumstances directly at God. And her reply to me was so real, was so raw, and she just looked at me with desperation and she said, "But I need my circumstances to change." And I thought, yes, that's where we find ourselves a lot of times, in the middle of circumstances that we don't have any control over and we can't change. And God says, even in those moments, especially in those moments, keep your eyes on me. And man, that's what He's been saying to me over and over again the last few years, is just simply keep your eyes on me in the midst of circumstances that I haven't been able to change. We all walk through them. We all live with them. Even Paul, remember the thorn in the side, in his side, that's what he was living with. And God is telling us over and over again, my strength is made beautiful and perfect in your weakness. So in an act of humility, we simply settle down into His care over our lives, whether the circumstances change today, tomorrow, next week, next year, or in 50 years. That He is the one in control, and that if we rely on Him in the middle of our circumstances, we find a place of peace and we find a place of joy just in being with Him. And I was reading in Habakkuk, and what the girl said to me about she just wanted her circumstances to change. And what Habakkuk was saying to God, and he was asking God all kinds of questions. Why do you let the wicked prosper? Why will the righteous be punished along with the unrighteous? And God was saying, Habakkuk, I am sovereign. I know what's best. And yes, I will bring punishment, but there will come a day when all will be made right. And Habakkuk found himself in that place of humility before an incredible God. And finally, at the end of the book of Habakkuk, he says this: even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the olive crop fails, and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields, and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights. I think where we go wrong oftentimes is that when we feel the pressure of circumstances that we can't control, and we're hurting and we're feeling like, God, I just want to get out of this, because it is great pressure, that oftentimes we try to release that pressure in wrong places. And that's where we make idols in our lives. Anything that takes the place of God is an idol. And we try to release that pressure somewhere else besides with God, in relationship with Him. And He's simply saying, you have to have counter weights, counter pressure in order to grow strong. And so He allows those things in our lives to go on longer than we think we're able to handle it, because He said, if you'll rely on me, I will make you grow strong in the process. He is incredibly beautiful, and He knows just what we need. If we'll rely on Him and walk with Him and lean into Him and keep our eyes on Him, He leads us through. He grows us strong. He shows us things we didn't know that we could participate in and be a part of. He leads us on adventure with Him when we rely totally on Him. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next week.